So then when I was introduced to CrossFit, it was one of those things where I fell in love, and as many people probably have already heard, I fell in love with the community. And that was that team aspect that I was craving for again. And I fell in love with it. And to this day, the community is the biggest piece of importance for me.
This is episode number 62 with Becca Voigt. Hello to all of my Pursuing Health listeners. I have something important to talk to you about this week. I can't believe it, but the podcast has now been running every other week for 2 full years, and I can't thank you all enough for your enthusiasm, your feedback, and your support along the way. We have some big plans for the future, and I can't wait to share them with you as our community continues to grow. Right now, we're at a bit of a transition point. As you probably know, this month I'm starting residency, which means my time has become even more limited and much less flexible. I've greatly appreciated the help of Beyond the Whiteboard in producing the podcast for the past 2 years, but the time has come for me to consider bringing on an additional sponsor or two in order to keep delivering great content on a consistent basis, and also to prevent myself from becoming absolutely crazy and sleep deprived this year. I can make a few promises to you up front about this. The only sponsors that I'll bring on the podcast will be products or services that I use myself and that have brought some incredible value to my own life. I'll be able to tell you about my personal experience with them and how they might help you too. I also will bring on sponsors that are willing to give you, as a listener of Pursuing Health, some extra value that you would not find elsewhere. For example, in the form of a discount code or a special offer. I also will not interrupt the content of the episode in order to tell you about a sponsor. That content will always say at the beginning or at the end. So I hope you understand this small change and that Pursuing Health sponsors will add some value to your own life. If you're not interested, no worries, just fast forward through the first few minutes of the episode. Thanks again for listening and for your ongoing support. And with that, let's get started by hearing a little bit about my first sponsor, Mobility WOD. This episode is brought to you by Mobility WOD. Do you struggle to get into good positions in your training and workouts? Are your movement compensations causing you undue pain and grief? MWOD's belief is that every human being should be able to perform basic maintenance on themselves. For nearly 10 years, Mobility WOD has been the go-to for the world's best athletes and teams. Do you know what hundreds of Olympic and world-class athletes, professional teams in the NFL, MLB, basketball, hockey, rugby, and soccer, and dozens of universities all have in common? They use Mobility WOD to train and compete at their best. I first took Dr. Kelly Starrett's movement and mobility course in 2013, and since then have read his books and followed his videos for ideas on how to address my own movement restrictions. But sometimes having all this information can become overwhelming, which is why I think the real genius is in the MWOD subscription. As part of this subscription, you have access to not only hundreds of hours of video content that can be filtered based on your specific questions, but also a daily 10-minute Mobility WOD video. You just log in and follow Kelly's instructions as if he is there coaching you in person for 10 minutes per day. You may pick up certain exercises that you wish to incorporate on a regular basis before or after your workouts. But at the very least, by following this daily program, you know you are addressing a wide range of movement patterns and body parts on a regular basis without having to think about it. I often do these sessions first thing in the morning or before bed as a way to wind down from the day. In addition, you have access to an on-ramp sequence and a 14-day mobility challenge that helps you understand the basics and identify the areas you personally need to focus on. You can lean on the MWOD community and discussion boards to learn from others who have been through similar situations or injuries. And if you need more personalized help, you can use the MWOD list to find a like-minded practitioner in your area. It's easy to become part of the Mobility WOD community, but for being a Pursuing Health listener, you can receive 20% off an annual membership with code JulieFoucher. That's JulieFoucher. Just visit www.mobilitywod.com. Full potential, full power. Welcome to Pursuing Health. I'm Julie Foucher, family medicine resident and former CrossFit Games athlete. Here, I bring to you information and inspiration from experts and everyday individuals for how to use lifestyle to maximize health. Thank you so much for joining me. Now let's get started with this week's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Pursuing Health. The CrossFit Games are now just around the corner, and to celebrate, I'll be doubling up on podcast episodes until that time. This week, we have one of the most dominant CrossFit Games Masters athletes, Ron Ortiz, as well as a CrossFit Games legend who will be competing for the first time in the Masters category this year, Becca Voigt. In this episode, I sit down with Becca, who's a 9-time CrossFit Games athlete, coach, and affiliate owner of CrossFit Training Yard. We caught up at the Reebok Athlete Summit in the Bahamas earlier this year to talk about everything from how she fell in love with CrossFit to the evolution of her training and CrossFit Games competition and what drives her to pour her time and energy into coaching others and running her affiliate. A little bit of background on Becca before we get started. She's competed in the CrossFit Games every single year since 2008, which is an accomplishment no other athlete can claim. She's consistently finished in the top half of the field and earned a spot on the podium with a third-place finish in 2011. Becca was also awarded the prestigious 2014 Spirit of the Games Award for her positive attitude and sportsmanship throughout the competition. Becca currently resides in Toluca Lake, California, where she trains and runs her affiliate, CrossFit Training Yard. A few quick reminders before we get started. First, if you're enjoying the podcast, please head over to iTunes to subscribe and consider giving it a rating. I'm also always looking for inspiring stories to share. So if you or someone you know has used lifestyle to overcome a serious health challenge, please send your story to me at info@juliefouché.com and I'll select some to share here on future episodes. To check out my online training programs through Beyond the Whiteboard, visit beyondthewhiteboard.com/JulieFouché. Finally, please remember that although I'm now officially a doctor, this podcast is meant to share the experiences of individuals and does not provide medical advice. So with that, let's get started here with episode number 62 of Pursuing Health featuring Becca Voigt. Welcome back to Pursuing Health. I'm here with Becca Voigt, and we are in the Bahamas with Reebok. Been having an awesome time, but thanks for sitting down with me.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yes. We were actually just talking earlier today about when we first met at the games, and I've been talking to people about all day about sort of the different generations and what their first experience was like at the games. And I remember going to our first athlete briefing and sitting down next to you and Lindsay Smith and just being totally starstruck because I had watched you guys on the videos the previous year in 2009. So it's crazy just how the evolution of the sport has gone over the past few years.
It's incredible to also see who's kind of still in it. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really cool to see kind of who comes out of the woodworks for that Masters.
Yes.
35 to 40 or 39.
Yes, it's so true. I was actually just talking to Talena about that because that's her goal this year. And it's just to see the names that are going to come back, you know, of people that we had been watching years ago or people who are just transitioning seamlessly from the individual competition into the Masters. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it's going to become a lot more competitive too.
Yes.
For the Masters.
Most definitely. Most definitely. But maybe we could start sort of at the beginning for you. I know you played basketball growing up, but what was your athletic background like and growing up playing sports?
I started sports when I was 4.
Oh wow!
So my mom and dad. I mean, I learned how to walk when I was on a soccer field because that's what my parents did. My mom played soccer her entire life.
Wow.
Yeah, she was on the U.S. team and went to Germany.
Oh, that's
for
so
like
cool.
the Pepsi Cup or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that was kind of my first introduction to any type of team sports. And then from there, while I was a natural soccer player, I wanted nothing to do with it because my mom was involved, my dad was involved in it, and I just wanted to kind of fall into my own sport.
Okay.
And so I think it was elementary school, 6th grade specifically. I had one of the basketball coaches kind of recruit me for his team.
Yeah.
I know. I had a lot of heart. I tried real hard.
Right. Hard worker.
And so, yeah, and I was tall. And I think that was the appeal. And so I started my journey of basketball. And I was lucky to take it to college. I played 2 years in junior college, and then I got a bunch of grants to go to a private college up in the Bay Area, Menlo College.
Wow.
And that's kind of how I finished out my career.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was that like when you finally, I mean, you'd been playing basketball your whole life. What was that like when your basketball career finally came to a close?
It was hard. I didn't really have an identity because that's kind of what I identified with my whole life. And so it was really hard to fall into like the Globo gym scene.
Right.
And I struggled with that. And I think that's kind of when my weight started to become more of an issue.
Okay.
Not that I was, terribly overweight, but I moved down to San Diego after college, and so I became a little bit more of a partier than I probably should have.
Okay. You had been so good in college with sports and everything.
Yeah, I know.
That was your
so I kind of put my hair down and let loose. So then when I was introduced to CrossFit, it was one of those things where I fell in love, and as many people probably have already heard, I fell in love with the community.
Yeah.
And that was that team aspect that I was craving for again. And I fell in love with it. And to this day, the community is the biggest piece of importance for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What was your first experience like with CrossFit, or how did you?
So my best friend worked at a gym.
Okay.
In the Bay Area. And she was like, hey, we're doing CrossFit. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. She's like, we're doing an event for prostate cancer.
Oh, wow.
She's like, you should be involved. And I was like, okay, what do I have to do? And she's like, practice these 5 movements. And then ended up being Fight Gone Bad.
Wow.
And I actually did really well.
That's amazing.
I couldn't walk for a week, but it wasn't until, the community up there was amazing. And I was just floored by the people who stood behind me, cheering me on during my heat. And that was really cool. And then I got to kind of experience the rest of the day. And they had like adaptive athletes and special needs athletes that went through it too. And just to see the community, gather around these athletes and cheer them on and watch the enthusiasm that these athletes had was just so amazing. And it really kind of moved me to tears. And I was like, from that point on, I was like, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I want to be part of and be something more grand. And that's kind of how it started. I found a gym in my area because I was living in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I found a gym in my area, and that's kind of how it all evolved. And I met Katie Hogan, who's one of my best friends, Chris Clever, who I work out with every single day, very good friend of mine. And it just kind of evolved from there.
That's amazing. What an amazing first experience to have.
Yes.
I mean, you think about sometimes now people being so intimidated or walking into a gym and having, not the best first experience, but to go into it seeing how powerful it can be as a fundraiser and with such an amazing community. That's not something I think that everyone experiences the first time that they try CrossFit.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it makes me really sad. So at my gym, we make it a point. I make everybody introduce themselves to the people that they don't know.
Okay.
In the beginning, trying to get them kind of out of their shell, they had to do burpees if they didn't do it. If they couldn't say the person's name, then it became more burpees or some sort of penalty. Now it's kind of calmed down a little bit. I kind of announced, like, you got to meet our new friends. But for the most part, people don't even have to be told.
Right. Once you set up that culture.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of how we keep most of or actually get those potential clients to kind of stay and stick around for the 7-day free trial that we offer. It's because they're like, the community is really nice. Like, why are these people so nice to me? I'm like, that's just what this is.
Right. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And it's so great to see you doing that, because I think it can be so easily lost. Like, it's easy to do if people see everyone else doing it, but if all of a sudden you start having a culture where people are just going in, working out, putting their weights away and going home, it's not nearly as fun. And people, it means so much when people know your name or they know what's going on in your life, and you can start developing those relationships.
Yeah, so. It's really interesting to see, like, my clients go to other gyms, like when they're on a vacation and traveling, and it doesn't happen. They're like, it was so uncomfortable. I was like, yeah, we don't want anybody new coming to our gym feeling uncomfortable.
Right.
It's already a uncomfortable start when you step into a gym. It's like a family reunion, and you're like the new girlfriend or boyfriend.
Right.
You're so uncomfortable to meet all these family members who know each other. But if people are really friendly and welcoming, it's, you feel like you're part of the family.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. How were you? So you were obviously a member of different gyms before you started your own, but what, obviously the community was really important to you, but what other things did you take from different affiliates or ideas that you wanted to implement in your own gym?
Yeah, we have a big belief that we need to teach and do a lot of teaching in our gym. My coaches, myself, we're not WOD facilitators. That's kind of what I call it. Yeah, anyone can call it the time, but I want my coaches to watch you move and make your experience better. And I feel like that's very important because, you know, even you and I, who've been doing this for a very long time, can always do and be better.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have anyone in your ear like, hey, maybe you should try it this way, you might not do it.
Right.
But at least it's refreshing to see, like, no one's kind of given up on me because I move, you know, decent.
Right.
Everybody's important, and I want people to move better. I want them to have a different perspective of how to do a movement or just something that they can learn from, because that's exhilarating when you get a PR because you all of a sudden learned how to use your hamstrings.
Right.
So that's one of the big pieces of our gym as well. I don't want my coaches just standing there being a cheerleader.
Right. Starting the timer.
Yeah.
You know, drinking their coffee or checking the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's, you know, it's crazy to think about, or we laugh when we think about it, but it happens, you know, more than you would like to think. So that's great. So you love the community, fell in love with the community, you joined a gym. How did you then end up competing?
We actually, it's really funny because I just kind of fell into it.
Okay.
I love competition. I love that, you know, exhilaration, the feeling of apprehension and that adrenaline rush. And so it was kind of natural, but signing up for my first CrossFit Games, I was legitimately in Vegas. It was midnight. We were eating dinner or something, snack, and CrossFit released these games or this affiliate get-together, and the first 100 athletes, male and female, who signed up and paid their $100 got to compete in this competition. So that's kind of my first introduction to it. And when I got there, it was kind of like what I imagined Woodstock would have been. Well, minus the drugs and alcohol.
Just a lot of fitness.
Yeah, a lot of fitness. But it was just right up my alley. And it was one of those things where it was just fun.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know any one of the people that I met that weekend's profession. But by the end, I came out with so many new friends.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it was fun. I think that's where I met, like, Libby, you know, Katie Mauder, and there's so many different people who I had, you know, I met. You know, I remember watching Jason win that year.
Right.
It was really cool to see. I tore something in my knee before, not at the games, but, you know, my knee was completely sore. I was in an ice bath. My hands were completely shredded, and all I wanted to do was do it again. So that kind of spawned everything.
Then you were really hooked.
Yeah. It was really fun.
That's awesome. I did get to visit Aromas once, but I just can't imagine what it would have been like to be back there, to be competing. It was cool to see you guys go back there this past year for another event. That must have been really neat from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm really glad I got to go back. I know a lot of athletes have gone to the ranch and they've, you know, demoed something, or but I hadn't had that opportunity. So to go back, I was more proud, and I was, you know, talking to other athletes who have never been there. It was just like a proud moment to kind of bring it back full circle,
right?
Because some people don't truly understand the full passion that I have for this sport. So it was really cool for other people to experience it and say they've been there.
Right. Oh, it's so cool. It's just such a cool part of the history of the games.
Yeah, it really is.
That's amazing. And then you've competed every year since then, which is amazing. And just gives you such a unique perspective that absolutely no one else has. What has the evolution been like from your perspective?
You know, I mean, it's becoming more difficult, which it has to be.
Right.
But the evolution is kind of growing with our athletes. I feel like, you know, specifically for the women, I don't think when we first started, Chris Clever, Katie, and I, you know, Lindsay Valenzuela, who's now Valenzuela, not Benson. When we started, we were the strong girls, and we were able to empower other women who never thought they could lift the amount of weight that they could.
Right.
And I think that just continues to go. No one thought they would be able to snatch 200 pounds, but now it's like
Girls
a daily
It's
occurrence. And
amazing.
I feel like it has to evolve, it has to grow, it has to get heavier to challenge us athletes. But I think it's more importantly, it's empowering all of us to be better than we were yesterday. It's proving to yourself you can do more than you thought originally.
Right.
So, we're always going to have Dave Castro's devious workouts, and, he wants to sort of kill us.
It's very
accurate.
Twisted, yes, but it's accurate.
But it's special. I mean, it's an important piece of, what we do. The one thing negative that I feel that the games portrays is that the everyday person watches the games and automatically thinks that that's not for them.
Right.
And I really wish that they understood that that's the sport of fitness, and CrossFit can be just a fitness regimen.
Right.
And that is for everybody.
Right. I agree. I think I hear that most from everyone, that they see it on TV and then they think that that's what it is. It's just about the competition and the people who are really at the top of the sport. And so I think that makes it more intimidating for people to walk into a gym, for sure.
Yeah.
I do love what they do with the commercials, though. I think those are my favorite part of watching the games every year, because I think they do try to tell that story through the commercials, which is always amazing.
And all the different companies that are involved with the CrossFit Games are now, it's not a rinky-dink commercial anymore. It's like a legitimate produced commercial. And you're right, they're so empowering. Like, we got to see 2 commercials for Reebok.
Right.
And I mean, one of them almost brought me to tears.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, because it really does capture like that emotion and all the passion that you have and what you feel about the sport and about the community, and tries to tell that story. You
can totally relate.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure for some people, that's what they, I don't have the word for it, but that's kind of what they hope for their future.
Absolutely.
The commercial hasn't been released yet, so I don't want to give away too much.
So true. So true. Do you have a favorite, I don't know if you have a favorite moment or top moments from all your years of competing at the games?
I have, the one that stands out the most is the Spirit of the Games Award. That's my most favorite. People are surprised when they hear that, because they say, well, it's not being on the podium.
Right.
And absolutely not. I fell in love with this community, and I feel like the Spirit of the Games embodies the community, and that's what I want to represent. That's what I continue as I walk through this journey of CrossFit. I want people to experience the journey.
Yeah.
So when I'm at the games, I'm going to be nice to, people. I'm going to talk to them if they look like they might be a little down, ask them if they're okay. And that might not be the right way, but that's my way to kind of, carry on the tradition of community.
Right.
I know there's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, but it's been working for you pretty well so far, so I wouldn't change anything. Oh, that's awesome. I think I agree. I mean, and you actually can compare, because you've been on the podium, and then having that recognition as well with the Spirit of the Games. I think I feel the same way when people ask me about my favorite moment from competing. Like, as much as I absolutely did not want to tear my Achilles, and I did not want that to happen, that brought out a whole different side of the community that I had never experienced before. Like, I had never experienced the support from that magnitude.
Right.
And nothing has ever touched me in that way before. And so I think that was more powerful to me than being on the podium.
Right. It truly proves to you that, everyone has goodness in them. Yeah. And when they reach out to you, they have no idea who you are. Right. And they just want to wish you the best of luck or ask you if you need anything. It's really special. Yeah. I mean, for you to go out there is incredible. And I was cheering for you so hard. I was like, that was one of my most favorite weeks of watching the regionals. And I mean, it wasn't my favorite that you hurt yourself,
of course.
but it was so inspiring. Like, I was so inspired. Like, I just wanted to pick you up and give you a big hug. But yeah, it really goes back to community.
It does. It does. And it shows you, like, it showed me too. I think it was my last season, and it really was the first time I think I really embraced and enjoyed the process of training more than any other season. And that, because it ended that way, it just really drove that home, that like, it's not about the ending, it's about the process, and it's about this community and the relationships you build and the support you have. And so a lot of times those things, I mean, I like to think everything happens for a reason, but you know, a lot of good does come out of setbacks and bad things too. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
I've had plenty of those.
What was some of your, over this course of, I don't know, how long have you been doing CrossFit now? Like
12 years.
12 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. What have been some of your biggest setbacks, or were there any moments where you thought, I just can't do this anymore, or maybe this is going to be my last year?
Yeah, I'm absolutely have had those moments. I've had knee injuries, and I'm currently dealing with a back thing, and I'm just learning how to cope. I don't like being told I can't do anything. So especially when it's somebody who I kind of hold in a higher light, like a doctor, and they tell me that I need to change my lifestyle, it makes me really angry. That's what currently happened with my back injury. I was like, the doctor I saw, who's a pain management doctor, was like, you need to change your lifestyle. And I was like, I'm not doing drugs. I don't drink very often. Really, you're going to tell me my life is that bad? And I couldn't take it. I just really couldn't wrap my head around it. And so I just learned a smarter way of training, and everything is getting better. I have, still some days that aren't as good, but I do feel like I am healing my injury. I'm being very smart with what I'm doing, and I'm going to prove that he's wrong. I think it's just how you handle it. I mean, I haven't had something so catastrophic that it really, lands me on my butt. I've had injuries where I've had at least 5 surgeries while I have done CrossFit. It was by no means because of CrossFit. It was some stupid thing that I did while exercising fast. And so, injuries do happen. I can cross the street and get injured. You know that. So it was just, how you bounce back. If it's, a couple months, it's how can you adapt to, maybe not using your hand or whatever. But there haven't been too many setbacks where I just said, I think it's time for me to, quit or stop. My journey, how I see it currently, is that yes, I will end being an individual competitor maybe sooner than later, and go into kind of the team aspect and experience the team. But I'm not done yet, so
10 is coming.
Yeah, we're gonna try for it. I'm doing my best.
That's awesome. That was going to be my next question, is kind of where you see yourself going long term. So it sounds like team. Do you ever plan to compete in Masters once you get there?
I think I'm going to give it a try. Like, I'll do the qualifiers and just see what happens, But yeah, that's kind of the journey, because I don't do CrossFit for just competing. It's just kind of a way and a test to see where I'm at each year, and I'm able to kind of regroup and see what I can do better for the next year. So I think it's kind of like my yearly test. So if I can do it on a bigger scale, it pushes me to be just a little bit better, and work a little bit harder in front of a crowd. So I don't really, it doesn't define me. It just kind of tells me what my next chapter in my fitness journey is going to be. Okay.
And what drives you then, or when you think about having that as your goal, or the qualifying for the games or going to the games as your goal, is that what you're thinking about all year, or are you just thinking about, I just want to get better? And
yeah, I am truly thinking of where am I deficient and what can I do better? Where can I get stronger? I don't try to worry about regionals. I know it's coming, so there's no reason to stress about it. I have a training partner who always is like, she walks in every week and is like, 5 weeks till the open. And I'm like, shut up. It'll be here sooner than we know. But yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I train by myself if I have to, but if I have the choice, I train with training partners who are lighthearted about it. They go
Mm-hmm.
hard when it's necessary, every day in the workout, but
Mm-hmm.
we can laugh, we can goof around, we make it fun, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really having a great time right now. I'm having fun, and that's really important.
Right. Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to keep doing it as long as you do if you weren't having fun.
No, absolutely
Definitely not. Definitely not. But you're also really busy since you've opened your gym, which was how many years ago?
Yeah, we opened up in 2014,
Okay.
the end of 14.
Okay. So you're obviously very busy with that as well. And
Yeah.
that's been something else that you have to prioritize. And then you've gotten married and, there's so many other things that you're doing. How do you balance those, or how do you prioritize those as you're looking at your day?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're fine.
The balance is constantly a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I do the best I can. In the beginning of my career, I feel like I sacrificed a lot
Mm-hmm.
to be in that gym, to working out. Now I know if I don't get something done in my programming, I move it to the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Before the holidays, my family and I got together once a week. We're going to probably start that back up
Mm-hmm.
now that everything's kind of calmed back down. But
Mm-hmm.
family is extremely important. I have a 1-year-old nephew
Wow.
who I absolutely adore, and I want to be a part of his life
Mm-hmm.
on a weekly basis. And
Mhm.
I want to see, how he is growing up
Right.
rather than just hearing it from my sister.
Right.
So that's important to me. And growing my business,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make it as successful as possible. And yeah, I still coach, 22 to 26 hours a week.
It's amazing.
And it's not a job. Waking up is a job. It's really hard to wake up super early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But once I get started, I'm ready to go. I'm very excited. I
Mhm.
love all my classes and, working with different people, some of them who are on their journey for the first time,
Mhm.
others who have been with me for, 8, 9 years.
Mhm.
And it's magical.
That's awesome. Do you have any stories of clients or members that have had really amazing transformations or things?
Yeah,
that you've
we
seen?
every year, it's usually during the holidays,
Mhm.
we have a Healthier You challenge.
Okay.
So we had one this past September, and it went for 8 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So it was a longer time.
Mhm.
And one of my clients and good friends, Sabrina, she's been an athlete her whole entire life.
Mhm.
And, things just kind of got away from her. She fell in love and
Ah.
got married. And so she had extra weight.
Okay.
She was still working out. It was just, the nutrition wasn't dialed in.
Mhm.
And our whole thing was, healthy foods, really try to be aware and present when you're eating.
Yeah.
And so it's very profound how much she lost and how inspired she is.
Mhm.
Still. She's still sticking with it, and she's got a goal, and we still check in with each other, but
Mhm.
she's lost 30 pounds. She has taken away she's gone down 6 belt loops.
Wow.
And it's just fascinating, and it's great to see how empowered she is,
Yeah.
and how proud of herself she is.
Mhm.
I think her confidence has gone up, and it's just it
That's
really
amazing.
just is. That's the proud part.
Right.
Like, I do this because of that. I do
Mhm.
that for my clients who get their first pull up, or
Right.
this is why I do it, and this is my purpose. Is just that enthusiasm and that light that you see in somebody's
Mhm.
eyes. It really inspires me to, make myself a better coach, and experience more of those.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then for your other clients to see that too, I'm sure it's infectious.
Oh yeah, I mean this challenge above all, because we've had probably 3 or 4,
Mhm.
was the most inspiring.
Mm.
We had at least 4 or 5 people that lost a big percentage,
Wow.
and it was empowering for the entire gym.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to do it again. It's hard to tell people, like, this isn't a diet, it's a
Right.
lifestyle change.
Right. We need to continue.
So yeah. So I'm still working on that, but yeah, it really brings up the morale for the entire gym.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I want to finish with 3 questions I ask everyone.
Okay.
So first one is 3 things that you do on a regular basis that have the biggest positive impact on your health.
I laugh often.
Yes.
We've
been doing a lot of that this week.
Oh, yes, we have. I try to spend as much time with my family and friends. And I really feel like a dog will change your life. And so I spend a lot of time with my dog, and I love him a lot. I don't plan on having children, so
your dog is your
my
baby.
dog is my baby, and it's a different kind of love. So we have a good time.
Oh, that's so fun. I would love to get a dog, but we can't
Not
really get one right now, but someday.
They're a lot of work.
Yeah, we had one growing up, and it's so nice to come home to.
It really. He's with me all the time, so he's
amazing.
like my sidekick, my shadow, and if you've never seen him, go on my Instagram because I pretty much post more about him than anything else.
Oh, that's awesome. What about one thing that you think would have a big impact on your health, but you just have a hard time implementing it or doing it on a regular basis?
Really dialing in my nutrition. I think I would really like to weigh and measure more, but it's very time consuming, and unfortunately I'm a little lazy with that. Making time for that is something that I know is very important, and I just haven't found the right time to do it. So I struggle with it, and I'm trying to do it every single day. But
right. I'm with you on that. I've gone, you go in spurts where I do really good about measuring things, and then I fall off the wagon. But it does take a lot of preparation and, thinking ahead to make sure that you can do it. Have you ever done zone or measured things for a extended period of time?
I did zone. I tried to go with counting my macros.
Okay.
Or at least, actually, I'm not going to say I counted my macros. I logged everything.
Okay.
And so I recommend that for anybody. Just start logging. And you're very aware of what you eat.
Yeah.
I ate a lot of fat, and so as I started to log, I was more aware of the fat that I was eating.
Okay.
And so I was able to kind of balance out my pie chart. So I feel like I was counting macros in a sense that I was trying to find that 40-30-30 balance. But I wasn't, really dialing it down to precise numbers.
Okay. What does a healthy life look like to you?
A healthy life is, very much with 3 positive goals, is to laugh often, surround yourself with people who will make you a better human, and to get outdoors.
Yes, that's such a good one.
Get off your phone, which I am guilty of sometimes.
We all are.
Get off your phone and go outside and just experience the sun and the fresh air. Do it with somebody, do it with a dog, but get outside and play.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think we should go do that and enjoy the rest of this sun out here.
Sounds good to me.
But thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Since this conversation with Becca, we all watched her incredible effort at the California Regionals this year and the emotion of her falling just short of qualifying as an individual competitor to the Games for the 10th year in a row. She'll always be a legend in the sport of fitness, and we're wishing her all the best this year as she prepares to compete in a new category, the 35 to 39-year-old female masters. In this conversation, Becca mentions how it was the community that drew her to CrossFit and has propelled her to such great success in her competitive career and her affiliate. What was it about CrossFit that was most intriguing to you when you first started? Let me know in the comments below this post on my website, juliefoucher.com. To make sure you never miss an episode and to receive exclusive content from me, head to my website, juliefoucher.com, and subscribe to my email list. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and consider giving the podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes. Also, don't forget to share your stories. If you or someone you know has used lifestyle to overcome a serious health challenge, please send me an email at info@juliefoucher.com. I'll choose some of these inspiring stories to share here on future episodes. Don't forget you can train with me through Beyond the Whiteboard by visiting trainwithjuliefoucher.com. Thank you again so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time on Pursuing Health. This episode is brought to you by Mobility WOD. Do you struggle to get into good positions in your training and workouts? Are your movement compensations causing you undue pain and grief? MWAD's belief is that every human being should be able to perform basic maintenance on themselves. For nearly 10 years, Mobility WOD has been the go-to for the world's best athletes and teams. Do you know what hundreds of Olympic and world-class athletes, professional teams in the NFL, MLB, basketball, hockey, rugby, and soccer, and dozens of universities all have in common? They use Mobility WOD to train and compete at their best. I first took Dr. Kelly Starrett's movement and mobility course in 2013, and since then have read his books and followed his videos for ideas on how to address my own movement restrictions. But sometimes having all this information can become overwhelming, which is why I think the real genius is in the MWOD subscription. As part of this subscription, you have access to not only hundreds of hours of video content that can be filtered based on your specific questions, but also a daily 10-minute Mobility WOD video. You just log in and follow Kelly's instructions as if he is there coaching you in person for 10 minutes per day. You may pick up certain exercises that you wish to incorporate on a regular basis before or after your workouts. But at the very least, by following this daily program, you know you are addressing a wide range of movement patterns and body parts on a regular basis without having to think about it. I often do these sessions first thing in the morning or before bed as a way to wind down from the day. In addition, you have access to an on-ramp sequence and a 14-day mobility challenge that helps you understand the basics and identify the areas you personally need to focus on. You can lean on the MWOD community and discussion boards to learn from others who have been through similar situations or injuries. And if you need more personalized help, you can use the MWOD list to find a like-minded practitioner in your area. It's easy to become part of the Mobility WOD community, but for being a Pursuing Health listener, you can receive 20% off an annual membership with code JulieFoucher. That's JulieFoucher. Just visit www.mobilitywod.com. Full potential, full power.